So what we're going to do now is we're going to add attributes to these NURB circles. So the way we do that is we go to Modify, Add Attribute. And what that'll do is that'll add attributes here. So I'm going to go ahead and name this left underscore foot underscore CTRL. And that's for foot controller. So the first one I'm going to do is heel pivot. And I want to do integers, and I just want to do for the heel pivot, I'm going to go minimum 0 and or let's do -10 and maximum 10, and I'm going to hit add, and oops, you know what, let's go ahead and do that one more time. Heel pivot minimum -10, maximum 10, and let's hit add. There we go. It recognized the foot controller. The next thing we want to do is a foot roll. Again, -10. Oops. Maximum 10. Hit add. And then we want to do a toe pivot. Again, the toe pivot should only be a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 10. And then we want to do a toe roll. And these will all make sense in a second. So we'll do -10 and maximum of 10, and we'll hit add. So let's start off with the heel pivot. So what a heel pivot is going to allow us to do is really pivot our foot all the way back and then pivot all the way down, like this. Okay? So what we want to do is select this, which is our L foot controller, and we want to go to animate here. And again, we're in the animation menu, so animate here, and we want to go to set driven key set. Now what we want to do is first load our driver. So when I hit load driver, what you'll notice is it brings up all of these attributes. So starting with heel pivot, and we'll go back and edit this so there's a space here. We'll start with heel pivot, and for driven, we'll select the ankle bone of our reverse foot controller, and we'll hit load driven. Now what we're most interested in is the rotate Z. Rotate Z is what makes it go back and forth. So at 0 on the heel pivot, so my heel pivot right now is set to 0, and this guy is set to 0 as well. At 0, I want it to be in exactly this position. So and actually the heel pivot is really more along the lines of this and not what I was talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and leave Z zeroed out there because it really doesn't matter. What I'm more concerned about is the Y. So at rotate Y, I'm going to go ahead and key that as well, and that locks it in. So I'm going to type in 90 here. And what you'll notice is that's the extreme for how I want the heel to pivot. What you'll notice though is when I select this and I type in 10 for heel pivot, it snaps back. So you should always remember that you want to make sure that you type the number in here first. So type in 10 for heel pivot, then select your heel here, and then you can type in 90. And when we go to key this, and we're on Y here, if you click here and then you middle wheel in the window, you'll notice from 0 to 10, it pivots out that way. Okay? So let's go ahead and select this guy, and let's make heel pivot -10. And then I'm going to select the heel, and let's make rotate Y -90. And I'm going to go ahead and key that. And what you'll notice now is from the range of -10 to 10, we get a complete heel pivot. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and hit 0 in there. And the reason we're adding all of this will make a lot more sense when we get into actually animating our foot movement. Alright, the next thing I want to do is I'm just going to go down. I'm going to do a foot roll. Foot roll is when you're taking a step and that ankle pivots, and that's where we definitely want rotate Z. So with heel pivot selected and rotate Z selected on the same exact joint, we're going to go ahead and key that. Alright, so now it turned yellow because there's two bones that are controlling it. Okay, so let's take a look at finishing off that foot roll. So on E, so when we go ahead and rotate this, on Z, we go to rotate this. What I want is when my foot roll is at +10, I want the heel all the way back. So let's go ahead and rotate Z to, let's do, that's pretty extreme right there. Let's do 50. Okay? And that's like that's really extreme heel pivot. But we might have to push the animation in specific poses, like when the foot's all the way out. So let's go ahead and key that out, and let's test it. So on from 0 to 10, we get a really nice pivot like this. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to load a different bone. So when our foot is forward, we want actually our foot to roll up on the ball of its foot, and so the heel goes in the air from there. So with that, we're going to actually load driven this bone right here. And then from rotate Z here, because we still want to rotate the Z of that bone, we're going to go back to select our foot roll here, and we're going to zero that out. And again, this is on 0 here, and then our foot roll is on 0 here, and then we're just going to key that, so it's not moving at all. Now with I have my foot roll selected here. I'm just going to go ahead and make this -10, and I'm going to select this bone here, and on rotate Z, I'm going to move it pretty extreme forward like this. Let's do 37, and then I'm going to key that. So let's test that out. So here's my foot roll. So it goes all the way back, and my toe rolls forward like that. So that'll make for some good animation. So let's go ahead and zero this out. Now toe pivot, the reason we did 0 to 10 is because really our toe, we really only want it to pivot on the tip of the toe about that much. So it's not important that we go absolutely crazy here. So let's select toe pivot here, and again we're just kind of working our way down. And let's select the toe bone here, and we're going to load that as driven. We're going to select rotate Z, and we're going to key that out. Because I already know that toe pivot here is at 0. Okay? So next thing I'm going to do is select 10 for toe pivot, and I'm going to go ahead and rotate this up to a pretty extreme amount. We'll do about 65. And that's really about as far as we need the foot to pivot, and I'll key that. And then let's test it out. Let's go back to 0 here. Alright, and we go back to 10, and it looks pretty good. So far we've got it all. Lastly, we want to do is toe roll, and we're actually going to load this IK handle here, so let's make sure that we can select it as the driven. And for translation, we really only want to go up and down like this. So I'm going to select translate Y, and I'm going to select, let's make sure this is the driver. Oops, let's make sure this is the driver, and then this IK handle is the driven. And then on translate Y, we're going to select toe roll, and we're going to key that on 0. And then I'm going to hit W, and I'm just going to move this up about that much. And actually, again, when we type in 10 here, it's going to snap back. So let's go ahead and select that again. Kind of got messed up a little bit. And let's key that up here. And let's test it. So let's bring that down. And I'm going to kind of pull mine forward a little bit. It seems to be acting up. There we go. I'm going to make sure I'm going to zero these other guys out. There we go. And then I'm going to pull this down. Let's first select toe roll and make sure that that's 0 here. And then I'm going to go -10, and I'm going to select this guy and then just push him down here, and then key that. And then, so let's go ahead and test this out. So we get it where it goes up and down. That's our toe roll. Alright, let's zero this out. Now sadly, I don't know a way to copy all of those attributes over to the other side. I know we can sort of duplicate this guy here and then copy that over, remove all of the connections and all the other stuff. But for now, it might be just good practice for you to get into the habit of learning the attribute editor by adding the attributes and adding all the different controllers yourself. So I'm going to end the video here, and then you guys can go back and do that on the other side. When we get back, we're going to talk about rigging up the arms.